This whole time, I've been trying to talk thinking that everybody could hear me, but no, nobody could hear me because I didn't even add myself into the backstage of my StreamYard live stream. It's crazy. I'm sitting here talking, going through all this information, and nobody heard anything that I just said. That's on me, but thank you for tuning in for today's public service announcement video. Some of the things I said is we have this saying in cryptocurrency: not your keys, not your crypto, not your keys, not your coins. So I kept asking for a 5x5, but of course I didn't get a 5x5 because nobody could hear me. But I think everybody can hear me now. So thank you for tuning in. Again, smashing that like button helps other people to be able to find these videos in the YouTube algorithm flow, and it helps people to find Rice TVX. So I'm going to try to keep this one as short and sweet as possible. I say that all the time, but I really am going to try to keep this as short and sweet as possible. I have another interview I got to do at 6 o'clock p.m. I just finished an interview with Miss Teen Crypto that is going to be uploaded to my Patreon channel tonight, right after this. And then I will be editing it this evening and uploading it tomorrow publicly. So if you want to get early access and support the channel, be sure to check out my Patreon. You get early access to videos that are unedited, no ads, and you also get exclusive content as well. All right, so not your keys, not your crypto. The reason I'm doing this video is because some of you who are involved in cryptocurrency might know the news that's been going on over the past few days about FTX, about SBF, a gentleman by the name of Sam Bankman-Fried, and he is one of the main proprietor owners of, or one of the main guys behind FTX exchange. They've been having some issues with apparent insolvency. The FTT token, their exchange token, has immensely seen a high decline in price. It's just immensely dropped. At the last I looked, it was like over 70% that the FTT token had lost. And CZ, the owner of Binance, kind of came in to possibly save the day to acquire FTX and make everyone whole. But if there is anything that could happen, CZ could, in fact, decide not to go through with purchasing FTX, and we could be feeling a lot more pain. We've had issues over the past few months with entities like Celsius and Voyager, with insolvency, with halting withdrawals, and customers losing funds. Whether or not in a legal basis those funds will be returned, the reason people lost those funds is because they were trusting a custodial service with their funds. They didn't have control of their cryptocurrency. Hope that makes sense. Some people are like, well, how do you hold your cryptocurrency? It exists on the internet. The thing that allows for you to hold a cryptocurrency is possession of a private key. And there are wallets designed. There are many different wallets. We have hardware wallets like ledgers. We have cold wallets, cold storage wallets, which could be anything from a piece of paper that has a public and private key on the piece of paper where you can actually send the Bitcoin or cryptocurrency to. And then you also have hot wallets, which is something that you would utilize on a phone, smart device. And they also have some different wallets that you could download on a computer as well for a MacBook, for Windows, for Linux, something like Exodus. A cold storage wallet would be something like Ballet, would be an example of a cold storage wallet. Monarch Wallet, which is one of my sponsors, is a mobile wallet that you can download. You will have possession of your private key. If you're downloading a wallet and it doesn't ask you to write down a recovery phrase that consists of anywhere from 12 to 24 words, then you're not possessing the private key. If you're using something like Coinbase, you do not possess the private keys. So leaving it on Coinbase, not your keys, not your crypto. If you have it on an exchange and you're not actively trading and you're leaving, and Coinbase is an exchange as well, as and all exchanges, aside from decentralized exchanges, are custodial services. They act like banks. They hold the responsibility of your assets. So when you're giving your cryptocurrency to an exchange or to a custodial service like Celsius or Voyager, you're giving them possession and control of your cryptocurrencies. Now, I'm going to have links down below for what I'm going to be sharing on today's video. At the end of the video, I will come over to see what everybody has to say on today's live video, trying to keep it as short and sweet as possible. So this comes from ledger.com. This is a hardware wallet company. It's a very reputable company. I do not currently have an affiliate link. I'm working something out with Ledger to get another new affiliate link, but I still do recommend hardware wallets via Ledger. And this comes from their academy. Key takeaways in regards to not your keys, not your coins, why it matters. The expressions not your keys, not your coins refers to needing to own the private keys associated with your funds. The person owning the private keys is the only one deciding how the crypto assets associated are spent. If you do not own this, you're entrusting your crypto to a third party. If you do own your keys, you have complete control over how to use your funds. Owning your keys also means being responsible for their security, and devices are created to help facilitate this. So what are keys? Similar to a bank account, cryptocurrencies are sent to a receiving address. The technical term for this address is the public key. So the address that you receive your cryptocurrency, that might start with a BC1 and a string of numbers, or in case of something like Ethereum, starting with a 0 and an X and a string of numbers and digits, upper and lowercase, that is your public key. When someone sends you some Bitcoins, they will send it to your public key. It's called public since you can send it to anyone without compromising your crypto. There is, however, another key that is linked to your public key. And this is the whole point of not your keys, not your crypto, not your keys, not your coins. And that would be the private key. I want to go ahead and go full screen so everybody can read this very clearly. All right, so that would be the private key. And the private key, this is the absolute vital. Anyone that has access to the private key can access the funds on the public key that it's linked to. In simpler terms, a private key is similar to a password, or I'll compare it to a PIN number for your debit card. It's a means of identifying you as the true owner. When speaking of not your keys, not your coins, it refers to your private key. The difference between accessing and owning your coins. When logging into your favorite exchange, it might seem like you actually own the coins on your account. After all, you do need to log in to gain access to them, right? Wrong. It looks like you're in total control of the assets until you try to withdraw more cryptocurrencies than the platform permits, or lower than a certain threshold. Some exchanges have a minimum amount to withdraw. As a matter of fact, the exchange might take a cut of the cryptocurrency transaction you make. They will take a fee for you taking a withdrawal fee. They can quite simply do this since you don't own the private keys to the crypto assets on your account they have them. This phenomenon isn't limited to exchanges. It goes for any wallet provider that doesn't allow you to own the keys associated to the funds. Again, if it doesn't give you a 12 or 24 word recovery phrase that you should be writing down, that you need to be writing down, then you don't have possession of your private keys. You'll be entrusting a third party. And this means they essentially can do whatever they want with their cryptocurrencies on your account. If you if you utilized Celsius in any capacity, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Why does owning my keys matter? There's a plethora of reasons why you'd want to own your keys rather than leaving it in the custody of a third party, requiring you to trust your funds to them. The most obvious is accidentally entrusting it to malicious actors. This happens a lot. People will ask you for your recovery phrase or your private key. And some people who don't fully comprehend how cryptocurrency works turns around and ends up giving that information to a scammer. And this happens more times than I'd like to admit, that I've seen so many people get scammed because they've given either their recovery phrase and or their private key to another individual they did not know, did not trust, that took advantage and ultimately left them with nothing. So never give that information out to another individual. And when you write it down, put it in a place where you know that other people aren't going to find that information. There are a lot of different things that you can use to write down your private key or your backup recovery phrase. I'm not going to talk about all of them in today's video, but I definitely encourage you to do your own research. Now, even then, so it says so it talks about trusting people and third parties. Should you have trusted a malicious third party with your money, you'll likely never see it back. Even then, you will never be in total control of your own money with them. As mentioned previously, they can set certain restrictions to a maximum withdrawal limit or fees associated with using their services. They can decide what you can do with your own hard-earned money. So you got to look at the terms and conditions of these exchanges, because ultimately, if you would have had your funds on something like Celsius or Voyager and you weren't able to withdraw them, it is because the terms and services of the contract that you signed allowed for them to do that. So you need to really take time to read the terms and services of these contracts. It's one of the most important things that I can share with everybody. So Bitcoin is a bearer asset. You're responsible. And I'm using Bitcoin as this example. This comes from Swan Bitcoin. This is an article for Bitcoin wallets, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. So you can just replace Bitcoin with cryptocurrency. In cryptography, a public key is used to encrypt messages and a private key is used to decrypt them. That's another simpler way of explaining it. If someone wanted to send you an encrypted message, they would encrypt it with your public key. Your private key is the only way to decrypt that message. So as long as you are the only person who holds that private key, you are the only person who can read that message. As long as you're the only person that possesses that private key, you're the only person in control of your crypto assets. Bitcoin uses public private key cryptography to secure transactions. A private key is created when you make a Bitcoin wallet or a crypto wallet. The wallet creates public keys that are hashed and used as addresses for receiving Bitcoin. The private key is required to prove the ownership of the Bitcoin or the cryptocurrency stored at that address so it can be spent. If you don't personally control the private keys associated with your Bitcoin, then you don't actually hold your own Bitcoin. This is where people who are into gold and older people with not being able to physically hold a Bitcoin, this is where they lose grasp. You can physically control it by possessing the private key, which is the same thing as holding that Bitcoin that never leaves the internet, that never leaves the blockchain. In other words, if an exchange or a bank is holding your Bitcoin on your behalf, you are not in direct control of your crypto or your Bitcoin. You are outsourcing the security of your Bitcoin to another party. You are being lazy. That's what it comes down to, being lazy. To take full advantage of the unique properties of Bitcoin as a money, you need to hold your own private keys. As Bitcoiners often say, not your keys, not your Bitcoin, not your crypto. It is empowering to be able to hold your Bitcoin in your custody so that it cannot be seized or confiscated by banks or the hackers that target them. But choosing to hold your own keys does come with responsibilities for the security of your cryptocurrency and your Bitcoin. So the trade-off of security versus convenience. This is the one thing that most people, again, being lazy, they like convenience, and you can't necessarily have both of those desirable traits because they are directly opposed to one another. So ask yourself these questions to gain a better feeling of what storage method makes sense for you. Total value. Are you storing on the order of a certain percentage of your net worth of Bitcoin or crypto? The answer would necessitate very different methods of storing your Bitcoin. Obviously, you would be willing to suffer more inconvenience if it meant protecting 50% of your net worth. Time and accessibility. When and how often do you need to spend your cryptocurrency or your Bitcoin? Is this more of a checking account, a medium term savings account, or is your Bitcoin similar to a long term retirement account? Don't make your custody setup so complicated that even you forget how to access your funds. Bitcoiners tell cautionary tales of people losing their Bitcoin due to overcomplicated custody setups, resulting in the owner forgetting how to access their coins. That's where you need to write down your 12 or 24 word recovery phrase in order to be able to have a backup properly of your private keys. So, I will encourage you to read this article in its entirety because it will talk about different types of wallets. I'm going to try to end this here in the next 8 minutes because around the blockchain on Bitcoin crypto is going to be coming on, and I definitely encourage you guys to check that out. But as far as the different types of wallets, we have hardware wallets, something like a Ledger, a Trezor, or a Bitbox. Bitbox is something I'm going to be covering here soon. I think it's Bitcoin specific. I'm not a big fan of the Trezors. I'm not a big fan of, there's a few other different hardware wallets that I'm not a big fan of. I do recommend Ledgers, and I will be covering more about the Bitboxes. But that is a wallet that basically never touches the internet, which reduces the risk of you losing any sort of information. It's suitable for long-term storage. And if you lose your hardware wallet, you can use your backup seed phrase to restore your wallet. Again, that's why you need to be backing up this 12 or 24 recovery seed phrase, secret phrase, however you want to put it. We have mobile Bitcoin wallets, mobile cryptocurrency wallets. Monarch, again, is one of the sponsors of the channel. I would encourage you to use the Monarch wallet. You do have possession of your private keys. You can download it on Android. You can also download it on iPhone. And here is the ad that I run in my videos about the Monarch wallet that you can get on a mobile phone. Oh, okay. So again, that wallet, the Monarch wallet, you will possess your private keys. A Trust wallet, that's another wallet. And I use multiple different wallets for different reasons. MetaMask, you control your private keys. Coinbase, you do not. With the Coinbase Exchange wallet, you do not possess private keys. There is a Coinbase wallet that is a decentralized wallet that you do have possession of your private keys, but it is not the same as the exchange Coinbase, where you have to provide your ID, KYC, AML. The other types of wallets, we have desktop wallets as well. Depending on the cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin, you have a Bitcoin Core wallet. I know there's a Litecoin Core wallet. There's different wallets. Exodus is one that you can download on a desktop, and it holds multiple different cryptocurrencies. I believe it has a 12-word recovery phrase, but again, it's usually 12 to 24. It's not in between. It's 12 or 24. They are good to use as well, but again, you're going to want to write down all of your recovery phrase information. There's also multi-sig wallets, and talk about the difference between hot and cold wallets here. Cold wallets aren't connected to the internet either, but you don't technically see a lot of times your private key. It's available to you and you have control of it, but you don't see it. And a lot of times there's no backup phrase. So if someone has your cold wallet, there's not really much security that you can do on top of it. Now, on something like Ballet, they do have a Ballet Plus. I can't remember what the exact model or what they call it, but it's a step up from the regular consumer Ballet card that has password protection in a cold wallet environment. So that is possible. Bitcoin backup seeds. Most wallets require users to write down a backup seed phrase. This is the 12 to 24 phrase I'm talking about. This is a safety precaution in case you lose access to your private keys or your wallet. If you lose this information, you lose your cryptocurrencies. If you're in possession of your private keys and you lose your seed recovery information and how to log into your account, you're going to lose your funds. And this is why I'm making this video explaining to people to write down this information as an extra security precaution. And if you're not actively trading cryptocurrency, do not leave it on an exchange, because something like what happened with FTX could happen to you ultimately. And I'm trying my best to be able to help people avoid those kind of situations. I feel like it's an important thing, and I hope you do too as well. So again, I definitely encourage you to read this article in its entirety. They explain how multi-signature wallets work. Why does my Bitcoin keep changing my address? Because your public key can change, and some wallets, depending on the wallet you use, will generate a new address every time you want to receive. But your private key will always remain the same. So I definitely encourage you to check out both the links that I have down below. Now, one of the things that I wanted to share with people before I do wrap up today's video, and in 3 minutes, Around the Blockchain is going to be starting, so we're going to be wrapping it up. If you don't have the money to go out and buy something like a hardware wallet, I completely understand, and there is something that people can use in the meantime until you can afford to get something like that, and I personally call it a poor man's hardware wallet. So if you happen to have an older smartphone or a smartphone that you're not currently using for phone service that does not have a SIM card in it, no SIM card, or a tablet, something to that effect. And you can even do this with a computer as well, as long as it's not a computer that you use regularly, because you don't want to use this poor man's hardware wallet as something that you would be searching on a daily basis on the internet and using different applications. You would want to use it specifically as storage for your cryptocurrencies, whether it's a computer, whether it's a smartphone, whether it's a tablet. You don't want to have a SIM card in there because you avoid SIM card swapping, which is one way that a lot of people are able to scam and be able to get information from your phone via your phone company. So no SIM card avoids that. You want to have obviously internet access. So you turn your Wi-Fi on, you download something like the Monarch wallet, for example, because again, they are sponsored by Rice TVX, and it is a great wallet. You have possession of your private keys. You'll have to write down a seed recovery phrase. You download the Monarch wallet on your phone, your tablet, and then you get your cryptocurrencies sent to the said wallet. Once you have the cryptocurrencies you want in your wallet, then you turn the internet off. Then you turn the device off. It's not going to get hacked. You don't have to worry about somebody else getting access to your funds. So you can use an old smartphone, a tablet, a computer, something that you're not using on a regular basis to surf the internet, to go on different applications, something that you're using specifically and only for storing your cryptocurrencies. And then another thing that I would add is if you're going to be using a smartphone or a tablet, and you have two-factor authentication, and you have to have something on your phone like Google Authenticator or Authy or something like that, have that on the device that you don't have a SIM card on. So you can use the phone, because again, if somebody is able to SIM swap you and you have all this information, it swaps over to their phone, they're going to have a mirror of what your phone is, and they're going to have access to your information. So again, I really think this is a good way for people to be able to store their cryptocurrencies in a safe manner that cannot afford to buy a hardware wallet. But I will be doing more videos about hardware wallets. And if you don't understand what's been happening with this FTX Binance situation, plenty of other channels, my friends, my peers have been covering this. Crypto Zombie, BitBoy Crypto, everybody is covering this. Sin City Crypto, Debate Crypto, Crypto Blood, Crypto Windio, Tom Crown, everybody is talking about this. So there's no point in me kind of rehashing what everybody else had to say. Everybody knows how I feel about Sam Bankman-Fried and the centralized Solana. So thank you for tuning in. It is 5 o'clock, which means that Around the Blockchain is about to start. If you want to go ahead real quick and head over to Around the Blockchain, I completely understand. If not, I will take a few seconds here and look at what everybody had to say in today's chat. and we'll just keep moving forward. Uh, Terry, Terry Toucan, thank you so much for the super chat. Man, is Ledger Live the same as my Ledger? Yes, it is. It is. Ledger Live is the application that you would use as an interface on a computer or a smartphone or a tablet. Thank you again for the super chat. I appreciate that. Let me see. I just want to shout out everybody who joined us. Sean C, thank you so much again for tuning in. Thank you for promoting over on Twitter. I do appreciate that. Dime Bar, thanks for joining. A1, good seeing you in the house. Susie Gemini, thank you for joining. It's always good to have everybody joining. And again, if you guys have not smashed that like button, I definitely encourage you to do so. Sean C was saying last night, KuCoin had a huge amount of stables coming off the exchange. Do not leave your funds on any exchange. Exactly, my friend. Terry Toucan says, mate, CZ will not save this shit show with FTX because this is part of the crash. That's where very well possible, and that's why I mentioned it. They could also be working together to control more than 80% of the cryptocurrency trading market as well. So there's a lot to think about when it comes to the situation. Me and Miss Teen Crypto talked about that today. It will be on Patreon here in the next few hours, and as well as the interview that I'm doing at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Ronnie, thank you for joining. I appreciate you. Hankowitz, it's good to see you in the house. I saw your comment on a Crypto Blood live stream a few days ago, and I don't think he knew how to say Hankowitz, which I thought was really funny, but it's good seeing you in the house, my friend. Okay. Thanks for joining. Do not go gentle into the good night. Rage against the dying of the light. Not sure what all of that's supposed to mean, but rice against the grain. Let me see if somebody put this user, block this user. Yes, somebody did, and I'm going to assume that was Ronnie, because we had somebody in here promoting some pornographies. Again, make sure you guys are smashing that like button. Hankowitz is saying, write on paper and keep it safe. Don't put it on a computer. Yeah, don't put your seed phrase on a computer. Don't take screenshots of it either, because hackers can get to this information. If you use something like Google Drive, what's the Google Photos to back up your photos, it's possible that that can get hacked. So don't take screenshots of your stuff either. Thank you, Ronnie. I appreciate you including that link. Never store your key in a cloud. That's another good piece of advice. Don't use any sort of cloud service to store your private key. Make sure you have possession of your private key. Good one. I appreciate you adding that. Okay. Matthew Millar says, if you do store your recovery phrase, store it on in a password manager like KeePass. If you have an external, sometimes you really like, I don't trust devices like that, because you have to go and you have to trust that the code is not written in a malicious manner where the people who created these devices will have access to the information on the devices. I like to do old-fashioned way of writing things down. You can put it in an envelope. There's pieces of metal that you can get. I don't have anything handy. I'm trying to think of the name of it, but it's pieces of metal where you could take each number and letter, upper and lowercase, and chisel it into the metal with a hammer just by tapping on it. And it's in like a fireproof kind of metal that's you're not going to have to worry about anything, because obviously if you have your house burned down, you write on a piece of paper and you don't get that piece of paper out and the house burns down, you're going to lose your private keys. So you can use metal devices and other devices. I've seen some that are like capsules, a metal capsule that you take a string of numbers and digits from your private key, and you basically are beating them through until you get the completion of your private key. Then you store your capsule, and it's fireproof as well. So there's lots of things that you can use other than writing it down. But writing it down, putting it in a safe, hiding it in a book on a bookshelf. There's lots of ways, lots of places that you can consider. Just remember, if your house is burning down, to make sure you grab that book or that safe if you can, or open that safe and get that shit out. You can also split up the information between people that you trust and just not tell it to each other. all the other people that each person has a piece of the puzzle. But you could take your private key, your seed recovery phrase, and you could split it up and give it to X amount of people, and you'd had to get the information back from those people. So there's a lot of different ways that people can utilize to protect themselves. Sean says, I personally have a small safe that I store important documents, and the paper with my keys are kept in that. That's smart. That's one thing that I do. I've got a couple different methods. Faraday bag is what Susie Gemini is also throwing in. Yeah, I know Bitcoin is hitting a very low price. It's a good time to start dollar cost averaging. I'm looking for a little bit lower of a price, and I'm going to be starting to purchase some more Bitcoins. I have heard of BISC, peer-to-peer exchange with self-custody wallet. It's worth looking into. It acts sort of like a DEX, sort of like a atomic swap type situation, and I believe it's like a side chain of Bitcoin, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of something similar to the Omni layer. Let's see here. EliPal, it is a good wallet. It's not a, I wouldn't call EliPal a cold wallet. It's a hardware wallet. I do have some EliPals. EliPal actually years ago sent me one with my ricecrypto logo on it. I haven't done an updated look at the EliPal, and I need to, because I'm going to be doing some reviews on different hardware wallets about pros and cons. So stay tuned for that. Yes, okay says Exodus is reasonable. And again, I do like Exodus. Terry Toucan says, I struggle to understand if my ledger live, is it cold wallet? And is my coins actually stored on my ledger or the blockchain anyways? I'm thick as a brick, just go with my hands. So cryptocurrencies don't actually leave a blockchain or leave the internet. You have possession of your private key, which is what gives you ownership of that said cryptocurrency on that said blockchain. So it never leaves the internet, never leaves the blockchain. You just have possession of the private key that gives you control of it. Hope that helps. And it's a hardware wallet. And so, yeah, basically, if you're using Bitcoin, for example, and you put it in your ledger, the Bitcoin never leaves the Bitcoin blockchain, but the private key that gives ownership to that Bitcoin is in possession of you via your Ledger wallet. Hope that makes sense. Thank you for saying that, Sean. I really appreciate that. What is the best VPN? I'm going to pull up something I don't share a lot. I think this is pretty cool. When John McAfee was alive with us, I had asked him on Twitter what what VPN he recommended. And I'll share with everybody what John McAfee recommends for VPNs. Scrolling through our messages. All right, so that's John McAfee, official John McAfee on Twitter. Try to get this thing to. I was trying to get my stuff to. There we go. Any really good, inexpensive VPNs, boss? I trust your opinion here. Thanks again for everything, brother. Love you. And he says, Nord. So I trust John McAfee's recommendations for VPN, Nord. B Chad, thank you for saying that. I appreciate. Matthew says, Terry Toucan, in all circumstances, whether in a software wallet or an exchange like Coinbase or in a hardware wallet, your coins are on a blockchain. The wallet authorizes you to transact your Bitcoin. Well said, my friend. Thank you for adding in that. I do appreciate. The difference between a hardware wallet is the private keys in your wallet are stored encrypted on the hardware wallet. That is correct. So if you have a ledger, when you first install your ledger and get your ledger set up, the private key, the recovery phrase information will come across on the device itself, not via the interface. The interface is just to look at what you have in the wallet. You can also see that via the ledger device itself. But yeah, you won't actually see your private key, but you are given your recovery phrase, and you do need to write that down. And I believe it with Ledger, it's a 12-word recovery phrase. But again, 12 to 24. Okay, so this is basically me saying Solana looks like it's on its way out. Yeah, I believe I'm not 100% sure about Solana, but FTT, I would say 100%. Daddy O, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate. He says I have stamped mine into metal cards in case of fire, um, then have stored them. So, yeah, that's what I was talking about with the metal and the imprinting the upper lowercase alphabet or letter and then the numeric, because it's a, for people who are unfamiliar with crypto, it's a combination of upper and lowercase letters and numbers. All right. Matthew also adds in that obviously metal wallets are the best, but generally people who are starting out aren't inclined to invest in a metal wallet. They just write the recovery phrase down and lose it. The key pass is a stop gap. And Daddy O is also saying that those metal cards, copper and steel, can be purchased at Amazon and eBay. That's correct. And a friend of mine had started a company, so I'm not sure if he still has those or not. And I'll try to update people if that's the case and get a link for everybody. Okay, says rest in peace, John. Gone but never forgotten. Legend. I agree. Been trying to get in touch with Janice to find out updates on what's going on with the release of John McAfee's remains, because I still don't think they've been released. But I do appreciate you tuning in. Again, I've got another interview I got to do in 45 minutes. That'll be up this evening on my Patreon channel. I also did an interview today earlier with Miss Teen Crypto right before this. Literally, I had to change the time of this live stream 5 minutes later because of the interview, and I needed a few minutes between. So that'll be on my Patreon channel tonight. I'll be releasing the Miss Teen Crypto interview publicly tomorrow. There's plenty of other videos on my Patreon channel that are still available for early access that have not been released publicly. And there's also exclusive content over there. So consider supporting what I do. It would be greatly appreciated. All right, so I want to leave you with this. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I hope you found value in today's video. Hope you now understand the difference between a private and a public key, the difference between a custodial and non-custodial wallet, why you shouldn't leave your cryptocurrencies on an exchange if you're not actively trading, and what the term and saying, not your keys, not your crypto, not your keys, not your coins, now, hopefully you know what it means. And you know what G.I. Joe said? Knowing is half the battle. Yeah, boy. So thank you for tuning in. I encourage you to be a blessing to others. Treat people how you want to be treated. Be the glitch you want to see in the matrix. Be the change you want to see in the world. Practice change. And until next time, much love.